Welcome to Shadow of Truth with your host, Dave Kranzler from InvestmentResearchDynamics.com and Rory Hall from thedailycoin.org. And today is Wednesday, July the 8th, 2015. And we have a brief market update for you guys. So here we go. The New York Stock Exchange has halted trading.
I think it may be back up, but it's just so retarded. Apparently Obama was briefed on it. They're worried about it being cyber attack. It wasn't a cyber attack. It's capital controls.
That's correct. They are afraid that people are going to start dumping all their stock.
Right.
Yeah, I'm looking at that on Zero Hedge right now. That's a lot of activity going on, according to that one little tweet.
Yeah.
That looks like in about 10 minutes' time.
Let me see.
Good Lord.
If the NY, if it's back up. I mean, stocks are moving on my screen, so I assume it's back up and running. But, the market started to plunge. Every time the market starts to plunge, one of the ECNs breaks, quote unquote breaks.
Yes.
And
How
then
convenient.
today they stopped trading on the entire NYSE. That's all the stocks. I mean, how is this any different than what China does? It's a de facto form of capital controls. This never happens when the market is spiking higher parabolically on some bogus economic report, and all of a sudden the hedge funds pile into this thing. The market never seems to have any problems when it's moving up like that, but when it starts to crash, it breaks.
Yep. Something's
it's
wrong.
It's just beyond absurd. And Fox News is doing like full blown coverage of this, and Obama was briefed on this. What does Obama know about anything about any markets?
What does he know about anything?
Right, exactly. So, they're just making it's this one big kabuki theater.
Yep.
Well, it might have been a cyber attack. We got to make sure of that,
Well, got to keep the fear.
I can't believe this happened.
Are you terrified, Dave? If you're not terrified, then we'll have to try harder.
I'm terrified of the government is what I'm terrified of.
That's exactly right. I'm terrified of the terrorists that are in Washington, D.C. They scare me more than anything.
So,
what I want to know is what this evil, corrupt to the core, slimeball Victoria Nuland said to Cyprus to get him to change his mind, to become a traitor to the people of Greece. He is now a traitor, and I pray to God that the people of Greece stand up and treat that traitor accordingly. And what he has done, not only to the people of Greece, but to people everywhere who were looking to him as a beacon of hope, that there was somebody that was going to stand up that would actually matter, that would count, that would stand up to these freaking criminals that have us by the short and curlies. And now that is gone. So I want to know, I would love to know what that evil slimeball told him or threatened him with, because she must have threatened him with something. Because I don't think that he would have just rolled over like that without there being something big put on his plate. I mean, it's just, there's a line in the movie The Hunger Games that the character that Donald Sutherland played, which was the ruler of Panem, and he turned to one of his minions and he said, "Hope, a little bit of hope is good. A lot of hope is really bad." And that's exactly what has just happened, is that there was a little bit of hope that was tied to Greece and them standing up to these criminals, and now that's gone, because they knew that there would be a lot of hope in a lot of people, and that's now been taken away. And the man is a traitor, and like I said, I pray to God that the people of Greece treat him as a traitor. I really do, because that's what he is.
Well, I've got two things to say in response. But first, I mean, this whole soap opera, I was convinced from the beginning that something would be done to make sure Greece stayed in the EU, and that they would kick the can down the road. And I hadn't thought, I was coming at it from a financial standpoint, in that I think that the European banks and especially the U.S. banks are exposed from a derivative standpoint. Forget the sovereign debt on balance sheet standpoint. So I was just taking a follow the money approach and saying, at the end of the day, the U.S. will force the issue from a financial standpoint. And then after we had Paul Craig Roberts on Shadow of Truth, he really shed a whole new light on it for me, which was the political side of it, which is that if Greece leaves the EU, the entire EU will start to fold, and that'll destroy NATO. And so, unfortunately, I think even what's in operation here that's even stronger than financial motivations are power hunger motivations, and notably the power hunger motivations of the United States neocons. And Dr. Roberts published a piece yesterday where he basically said, as far as he's concerned, the Greece situation is over and it's quote unquote fixed. And he had referenced a report that Victoria Nuland, that's the one who was on a phone recording that was released, I guess by WikiLeaks or whoever released it, where she was having a discussion with, I think, one of the Ukrainian representatives or something, and she was quoted as saying, "Fuck the EU," and she referenced how the U.S. had already invested $5 billion to foment a change of government control over there so the U.S. could control Ukraine. So she's basically one of the chief neocons in what I call the front office of the White House, the back office being the Department of Defense. And he had a report, or had seen a report, that Nuland had already paid a visit to Chirpus. This is a quote from his article. She explained to him that he is neither to leave the EU or cozy up to the Russians, or there will be consequences. Polite language for overthrow or assassination. Indeed, the Greek prime minister probably knows this without need of a visit. And that told me right there. And I emailed Craig about it. I said, "Hey, do you have a link to those reports?" He said, "I saw a photograph of her sitting on a couch in Chirpus's office." That's all we needed to see to know that the U.S. was taking control of this situation behind the scenes, because it's critical for them, for the neocons, that Greece stays in the EU to keep NATO together.
It's depressing to know that our world is that corrupt. That the entire world, I mean, we're not talking about one nation or a couple of nations. We're talking about the entire globe is that corrupt and that evil. I mean, I've heard, in various interviews that I've been part of with Sean over at SGT Report, that we're fighting evil, and this confirms it. Period. I mean, these people are nothing but pure evil, and they don't care about anybody. They don't care about anything. I mean, it's just depressing. I mean, it has really wrecked my morning.
My expectation all along was that this was going to be resolved with a resolution that kept Greece in the EU. I mean, financially, it's a disaster. It's a disaster for everyone involved. It's just kicking the can down the road, and it's going to make the problem down the road worse. But who knows? Maybe the U.S. has already decided they're going to start a world war before those problems hit them in the face.
Well, they're going to have to. I mean, they're going to have to do. We're going to have to go to war, right? I mean, isn't that what this is about? Isn't this about keeping the door open so that not we, but the United States government, the Department of Defense, can start a war? I mean, at the end of the day, that's what it's about.
Rory, I've said for 15 years, once I started getting into the precious metals sector and I started looking at all of these issues, I said eventually this is going to end up in a world war because the U.S. is going to be in a position where it has to fight and struggle to maintain its global hegemony. And historically, the only way that those points in history are resolved is a global conflict is started. And we know that the Department of Defense and the neocons at the Pentagon truly believe that the U.S. can win a first strike nuclear war. And so I believe that they're just looking for an excuse to make that happen. And it's not going to happen right away. It's not going to happen tomorrow, but it's something that I think will happen.
See, I mean, and it could happen tomorrow.
It very well could. I mean, who knows? I don't think it will, but I think it probably happens before the U.S. reaches the point of total financial collapse. And I don't think we're that far from that.
I don't either. I mean, with where we started this conversation, Dave, was they had stopped all trading on the New York Stock Exchange. Silver, the U.S. Mint ran out of silver yesterday. They're going to be offline selling Silver Eagles for the remainder of this month. Today is Wednesday, July the 8th. That means that for the next 22, 23 days, there's not going to be any Silver Eagles available for the primary dealers. And when the stock is sold out from what they have, then that's it. And how do they know that they're going to be able to come back online, which is what you had asked me yesterday? How do they know they're going to be back online come August 1st? They don't.
Well, it's interesting because we've been talking about the fact that we're hearing that a massive silver shortage is developing, and Bill Murphy at La Metropole Cafe in his Midas report has referenced that his LBMA trading source over in London told him a couple weeks ago that there were rumors that there was going to be a big shortage at the refiners of silver come September or October. And yesterday, the guy called up Bill and told him that silver is tight as a drum and there's nothing offered in any kind of meaningful size.
Now, do you think that this has to do with the fact that China and India are taking all of the silver ore that they can get their hands on for their solar program? I mean,
well, actually, that's a good direction to take this in because, yeah, I think that India and China have unexpectedly. I don't think the U.S. elitists planned on India all of a sudden deciding they were going to import a record amount of silver in the first half of 2015.
Probably not.
And I have to believe they knew how much silver China's been using just for its solar program. However, what this also tells me is if there's a shortage of silver in London, it quite possibly means that the SLV vault is tapped out. And I'm just this is just sheer speculation. No idea. I know that it's in the legal documents of the SLV prospectus that they do have backdoor ways of squeezing silver out of that trust, physical silver. And I've suspected for years that they've been leasing it out and hypothecating it. And, I mean, you would think that if a serious shortage of silver was developing in London, that they would just drain more silver out of SLV. I think that's what they've been doing for the better part of 10 years. I mean, silver's been in basically deficit supply for a long time. So I think it means that SLV is drained of silver, and I also think the fact that the mint can't get a hold of any silver means that there's not silver available in the COMEX to send to the mint. And I don't know if that means that it's been all tapped out, including customer silver, or if the vault operators maybe had been previously willing to lease out customer silver because they knew they'd be able to replace it. Maybe the customer silver is still there, but if they don't think that they can replace it if they have to. So that could be the case also. I really don't know, Rory. I mean, there's a lot of mysteries going on here.
A lot of mysteries. I mean, there's a lot of moving parts, and that's why I was saying that World War III could break out tomorrow. I mean, it really could because things are breaking at a very, very rapid pace. I mean, we were just
Including the NYSE.
exactly. That's exactly. I mean, and just like in our conversation with Wolf Richter yesterday, I mean, the uh, the housing market here is blowing up all over. I mean, you referenced Denver and what's going on there. That is currently being unreported. What's happening in Southern California that you brought to the table yesterday that's currently being unreported outside of the alternative press. I mean, unless you are following what you're doing and what I'm doing and what people, like Zero Hedge and Sean over at SGT Report and the Doc at Silver Doctors, unless you're following these folks, you're getting lies and propaganda. You're getting the corrupt, evil news that they want you to hear. And I just don't know. I mean, I really think that things we're rapidly approaching the cliff's edge at this point, and I don't see how we can. I don't even see how we can turn it around. I really don't. I mean, unless there's just wholesale, start over, just a complete gutting of the system, and I don't see that happening.
Well, I made that statement, I don't know, probably 12 years ago, and I got criticized for it. I said the only way that this country can have a credible reset is if we build a gigantic wall around D.C. and Lower Manhattan. Well, I guess you'd have to do it in part of Midtown too, and make sure all the criminals, the Wall Street operators and the political operators in D.C., make sure they're all inside the wall, and then napalm it to the frickin' ground, and then move the new capital of the United States as far away from the East Coast as possible, but not on the West Coast. Maybe like Montana. That'd probably be a good place, a fitting place for the new capital of the United States, right? I would say New Hampshire, it's a live free or die state, but they're infected with criminal corruption as well. And I said that literally 12 years ago, 13 years ago, and I got criticized for it. But does it look like my statement was wrong?
Not from where I sat.
Exactly.
I mean, as far as and I'm basing that on what's on the events of today, as far as Cyprus or the prime minister in Greece rolling over the way that as easily as he did. Varoufakis steps down, and then all of a sudden, the prime minister loses his backbone.
Well, he doesn't want to lose his life over this, which tells us that, the modern day man certainly doesn't have the spine that someone like Patrick Henry did. Give me liberty or give me death. He's not willing to die for the cause. Because that's probably what he was threatened with.
Well, that's what I was thinking too, but
I mean, if Dr. Roberts is willing to make a public statement like that, then it's probably true. In working with him, I know he's very careful about words he uses and references he makes, and he likes to double and triple check everything. Trust me on that, because I've written enough articles with him. He cracks the whip. And speaking of which, just to let people know, I'm in the process of writing an article with him on the OTC derivatives and how it's being used to manipulate the price of silver and gold.
Well, that'll be interesting. We'll be looking forward to that. And well, we should probably wrap this up, Dave. I mean, I think I've cried enough, and for one session, and we're about 20 minutes into this, so I'm not sure where else to take it for the moment.
Chin up, Rory. Just always remember, if you want to figure out what these guys are doing next, you got to think like a criminal.
Well, I try to do that, but I guess I let my defenses down.
You're too good of a person to do that. Until next time,
Until next time, and just so you guys are aware, we've got on deck, we have Mr. Rob Kirby will be returning to the Shadow of Truth. He'll be with us next week, and then in a couple of weeks after that, we've got Mr. Jim Willie. Dr. Willie will be returning to catch us up on what's going on. So next week will be very interesting with Rob Kirby. So guys, stay tuned for that and keep on the lookout for all of Dave's wonderful work and work that I'm doing over at the dailycoin.org.
Rory's wonderful work.
And check in with Dave at investmentresearchdynamics.com. So, but in the meantime, thank you, Dave, and we'll talk soon.